Ooh, did that spray you? Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to be doing my February wrap-up. I have not posted a wrap-up in a hot minute because I feel like I talk a lot about the books throughout my other videos, and I thought wrap-ups kind of feel a little repetitive, but I feel like I didn't talk too much about these books in videos. So that's why I'm doing a wrap-up video. I just wanted to yap about these books that I read in the month of February and talk about my thoughts and opinions on them, and hopefully this is entertaining. I had 6 books on my TBR, and I typically stay with my TBR. I'm not much of a mood reader. I kind of just pick the books I'm going to read for the month and I'll read only those books. Very rarely I will read outside of my TBR. But the only book I did not get to this month was Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, which I really was hoping to get to because it is a book that I want to read. And Elizabeth Lim is, she's written a lot of other books, like Six Crimson Cranes is a book that I've heard of, The Dragon's Promise, Unravel the Desk, and she's also written the Twisted Tale for Mulan, which I'm talking about that because I have one of the Twisted Tales, which is like a Disney retelling, which I thought was kind of funny because I was reading that and I was like, oh, she wrote the Mulan version, which is kind of funny. But I did not get to this book this month, so hopefully sometime this year I get to it. Alright, I read a total of 5 books, 3 being romance books, 1 young adult fantasy, and 1 fiction. I want to say it's a fiction book. General fiction. Greek mythology retelling fiction. So, lots of romance. I tried to get some romance since it was February, you know, Valentine's Day and all that. Yeah, we're just gonna go in the order that I read the books. Starting the month off, finishing the Chestnut Spring series was Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the 5th and final book in the Chestnut Spring series. This is Bailey and Beau's story. Bailey is 21, 22. She's a bartender. She's a Jansen, which the town of Chestnut Springs does not like the Jansens. They're kind of like the trailer trash of the town. And Beau is 35. He is the town prince, military hero with a tortured past. And they kind of connect in a fake arrangement to help each other out. And of course it leads to a real relationship. So unfortunately, I did not enjoy this book. This was probably one of my least favorites. Actually, it is my least favorite book out of the whole Chestnut Spring series. I rated it a 3.75. I love Elsie Silver's writing. Her writing is top tier. I love it. I will read anything she writes. But for some reason, I think the biggest thing was Bailey. Bailey was very, I feel like, immature in some scenes. I don't know if that's because she's portrayed younger than Beau, who is in his 30s and he's an adult. I mean, she's also an adult, but there was just some things that made her very immature, and I just did not like her that much. Loved Beau, loved his love for Bailey, but for some reason I could not get back past Bailey. She was not my favorite female character within this whole universe. So I did rate this a 3.75. I still enjoyed it. I'm kind of just upset that this is how we end up the Chestnut Spring series, but I'm excited to get into her new series of Wild Love, Wild Eyes, Wild Side, those books, which is called the Rose Hill series. So, yeah, like I said, I would recommend this book. It is a great book. I loved it. Like I said, their relationship itself I thought was very, very cute, but Bailey just did not settle for me. I just did not like her. So that could be a me problem. Probably not. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people had similar thoughts to me with this book. So that was the first book I read in February. Next book, which very similar to Hopeless in a sense, was Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is book 2 in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I did rate this a little bit higher. I rated it a 4-star. This is the story of Declan and Iris. Declan is supposed to become the next CEO of Dreamland, taking his father's place, but there's one thing he has to do in order to complete that, to be a CEO, is he has to be married, and he decides to arrange a fake marriage with Iris. I didn't say he does, Iris does. Iris is like, I'm gonna save your butt and I'm going to get married to you so you can get the money and CEO title of all that. And Iris is Declan's assistant. So I really loved the boss assistant relationship and like how it transpired into a married couple relationship. I will say Declan did kind of irk me sometimes, being that he was a very grumpy, mean, I would say mean at sometimes, husband. And I will say towards the end I was getting really mad at him of what he was doing, but I'm super glad it resolved and now they are together. But yeah, I enjoyed this one thoroughly. I am excited to read the last and final book in this series. I do not own it, but I will be on the hunt for it, which is Final Offer. So I'm excited to read about, is it Cal's story, because yeah, Cal is Iris's best friend. So I did love that little aspect of her, Iris and Cal, being like besties in this book. So, but yeah, that was I don't have much to say. I read this at like the beginning of the month, and I feel like February was like 6 years long. Like I can't remember even reading this. I feel like I read it so long ago, but did enjoy it, liked it, 4 stars. That was book number 2. Book number 3 was As Old as Time, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. This is What If Belle's Mother Cursed the Beast. It's like one of those not dark retellings, but retellings. It's YA fantasy. And I rated this a 3.5. It was fun. Definitely a lot of like confusing parts of figuring out which perspective I was reading from. Because it didn't straight up say like whose point of view you were reading from. So some of the times I had to go back and like reread because I was like, wait, oh, I'm in the mother's point of view, or oh, I'm in Gaston's point of view, or something like that. It was just super all over the place sometimes. And I did like it. It did make me want to watch Beauty and the Beast again. A lot of the scenes and stuff is just like the movie, where I'm like, oh, this is Be Our Guest. Like, can see that. But I also wanted to try to get that out of my head and try to envision a whole new story that I never even heard of. But it was very, very hard, especially when you grow up being a Disney fanatic and loving Beauty and the Beast and movies like that. So it's kind of hard to like shift out of that movie sense and seeing it differently, like in this story. So yeah, that's why I kind of rated it a little bit lower. It was hard to figure out whose perspective. It seemed very long and like stretched out, where it could have been a little bit shorter. But I know they set it up by going in the past and telling you why Belle's mom cursed the beast and what was the reason behind that. But it just seemed like a wild goose chase in like the second half of the book. So that's why 3.5. Not my fave. I do want to read I don't know what it's called, but I do want to read the Rapunzel one of this. It's like if Mother Gothel, something about Mother Gothel. So that's the 3rd book I read in February. Now this is probably my favorite read of all of February. I absolutely love this. This was my first Ali Hazelwood book, by the way, and I want to read more or get more of her books because I loved this. And if all of her writing is like this, then I bet I would like it. So this is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. It is about Bee and Levi. They are sworn academic rivals or enemies, basically. They work at NASA, so B is put on a project at NASA, or offered this job at NASA, and she has to co-lead with her old academic rival Levi. They went to school together, and she swears that he hates her, which is not true. He is absolutely utterly in love with her, which I absolutely was like, yes, I loved it. She has a obsession. I shouldn't say obsession. She loves Marie Curie, so there's a lot of Marie Curie stuff thrown in here, which I loved learning about, and she has her own little fan account of Marie Curie, and I loved every aspect of this. It was super adorable and cute. I mean, I don't know much about like neuroengineering and working at NASA and all of that stuff. Know nothing of it, but it was such a fun read. Like, definitely my favorite read of the month. I loved it. It was so like I don't want to say just like turn off my brain, but really it is like a nice silly little romance. And I wish I could read more about them because I love her. Like, B is literally, love her. She has purple hair. I used to have purple hair. She's got piercings. She's just very like feminist of like, yes, I'm a woman in STEM and I can do this. And it talks a lot about like the sexism and being a woman in STEM in this book, which I loved. Absolutely loved. I need to read more of Allie Hazelwood, which she did come out with a new book, and I've been kind of hearing some mixed reviews, and I don't know if I should read it, but I think I might read either Love Theoretically next or just Love Hypothesis, one of those first before getting to her newer stuff. So absolutely love this. Favorite read. Love them. Love them. And the last and final book that I read was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Goodreads says this is a fantasy, historical fiction, romance. Sure, I'll go with that. I think it read more fiction with subplot of a little romance and I guess historical since it's Greek mythology. And I tried reading it earlier on in the month and I read like 3 chapters and then I set it down because I was like, ooh, I don't understand what's going on. Like, there's a lot of big Greek names that I don't understand. But then I decided, hey, I am actually going to read this month. I want to read this. I want to know why this was a popular book talk book. And I enjoyed it. Like, I don't think I would have picked it up if it was not a popular book, if that makes sense. It's about Achilles, obviously, and Patroclus, which they are 2 men that grew up together and are romantically involved with each other, and it's kind of like the story of Achilles in a sense of how he became a well-known name. I will say lots of like Greek mythology. Like, if you knew nothing of, you'd probably be really confused, but I know like a little bit of Greek mythology and like who Achilles is and like the Battle of Troy and all of that type of stuff. So I had an idea of what was going on, but besides that, like, I liked the story. I definitely had to listen to it via audiobook because me trying to read this, I would have been like, huh? And I did have to spark note some chapters because I was like, what is going on? What? So I did only rate this a 3-star. I do think it's a fabulous read. It did win award, literally Orange Prize for Fiction. It is a great book. Just definitely not something that I would gravitate towards normally. I'm glad I read it. And it's just definitely not something I would typically read. So that's why it's a great book, but not something I would read. I did like it. I finished it. And I would recommend it. But am I going to think about it by the end of next month? Probably not. So, and it also did not make me cry. Like, I was like hoping to cry by the end. But I think since I knew kind of what was going on by the end, I didn't cry. I was just like, oh, that's sad. Okay. So I thought this was gonna be gut-wrenching, but it was not gut-wrenching. So this was the final book. I literally finished it last night because I was like, I have to finish this in February, and I did. And I'm so glad I picked it back up though. Like, I put it down and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna DNF it. I don't understand what's going on. But then I picked it back up and I was like, no, we are getting you read. And I'm so glad I did. Because it is a great book. Just not my fave. And those are all 5 books that I read in February. And my thoughts and opinions. And how I felt about them. And hopefully all of that made sense. Because sometimes I feel like I yap and I don't make sense. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you read any of these books, let me know your thoughts and opinions on them. I'd love to hear what you thought of them, if you've read them. And if you loved Love on the Brain like I did, because I love that book so much. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe. I post videos once a week, whether it's book-related content, vlogs, lifestyle, kind of whatever I'm in the mood for is what I will post. So if you like what you are seeing, you should subscribe for more things like this. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye!